uncharted territory now. Making this up as I go. Howdy everyone, I'm Doug Howe and I want to welcome you to the next Positive Gravity. Today we'll be working with this nice piece of walnut. Got this from my buddy Tom. Thanks Tom. It's been sitting in the shop for a while and it probably sat in his shop for who knows how long. Could be years. It's nice and dry. I think it's about 10% moisture and looks pretty big, right? But it does have some problems. This upper part is kind of, it's hard to tell, but it's basically like dry rot. So we're not going to use the top couple inches here. Just going to ignore that. And then there's a couple of pith spots here and here that were from branches that came out in this direction. So I'm not too worried about those because they don't go that way. They kind of go this way. So I'm not sure what will happen when we get into the piece. We'll see. I hope they'll be okay. And I won't have to do anything fancy to stabilize that, but I'm going to leave them there for the moment. I did scribe a circle on here that's about 11 inches. That's the biggest I'll be able to make a bowl out of this piece while ignoring this part. So I'm going to go ahead and take this to the bandsaw, cut that round, maybe flatten the bottom here, and then I'll set up to mount the faceplate on here. Once I get all that done, I'll bring you back and we can get mounted onto the lathe and start making a really nice walnut bowl. Thanks for joining me, and don't forget, always enjoy that process. Sometimes that's all you get. Let's get going. All right, I got this nice piece of walnut cut. You know, fairly round. I did that on the bandsaw, and you can see I put the woodworm screw hole right in the center there. So I'm just going to go ahead and screw it on. I decided to do that instead of the faceplate. Looked like it might be a little bit easier. We'll see. All right, that's nice and tight. So that'll allow me to work the bottom of the bowl first. And you know, I can get rid of some of this bark. I can create a tenon. Actually, I might go with a mortise on this one. I usually do tenon, but I've been finding I think I lose more of the wood than I will if I use a mortise. So I'm gonna go ahead and try that. Almost there. Might end up needing to do some resin work on here to retain more of this wood. All these cracks and punky stuff. This is all just dry rot there. But right now I'm leaning towards using a knife to just carve away anything that's kind of rotten. It's not too much here. I don't want to lose all of this good wood in order to get rid of some of these pockets right there and right here. Still not quite sure what I'm going to do yet, but this stuff needs to go. It's all just dry rotted. Just dig this out. So I'm just trying to get back to solid kind of material. Boy, this goes pretty deep. Wow. It's worse than I thought it was. Let's see where the top of my bowl is going to be so that I know how to make this curve. I think it's going to be right about here. Yep, right there. So that looks about right. So that'll be the top. All right, I think we've gotten it down to a reasonable shape. I'll be able to put a mortise in here. But I think we're going to want to put some resin there. I can't really leave it that way. So then the question becomes, should we decorate it? Should we do something interesting here? We'll have these natural cracks that'll get filled with resin. All of this will get filled, filled, filled. It's really just this part. So I was kind of on my way to sleep last night, and I was thinking about various things I could do with this patch of wood right here, and maybe I'll try some of it. I might use a Forstner bit and drill some holes of different sizes, and then make some plugs out of a contrasting wood to put in there before I fill this with resin. So there'll be some kind of like circular patterns in here. All right, so I've got some Forstner bits here in take some of this off so I can talk. 3/8, 1/2 inch, and 5/8 Forstner bits. And then I've got a similar set of plug cutters. So I'm going to cut some plugs out of maple like this one. It's probably not quite long enough, but I'll find another scrap. And I'm going to drill some holes here, and then I'll put the plugs in. The plugs will stand proud of this depression, and then I'll fill with resin around that, and that way when I turn this down there'll be resin with wood circles in it. That's the idea. So let's go ahead and just drill a few here. I'm just going to kind of randomly drill. I'd like these holes to go all the way through, and that'll add a little interest on the inside as well. So I want to make sure these are deep enough. I might also put some in the middle of these pith spots from the branches, and that might help stabilize those. I'm going to put one here. So there's a little bit of pith spot right here. I'm going to try to get some right in here, just one. that's really soft, actually. I think I'm actually going to do a few here because this wood is so soft. It's in a lot worse condition here than I thought. Look how soft that is. There's basically no wood over here. Yipes. Ugly. Maybe I should just drill that out entirely and oh boy. Yeah, this all needs to go. This is all just rotten. Catnab it. Rotten. We're in uncharted territory now. Making this up as I go. Wow, that's unusual. All right. I got to go to the drill press and cut a whole bunch of plugs. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Just do that with these little plug cutters. All right, so here's the situation. I put this in the oven and baked it for about 3 hours at 220 degrees to make sure it's good and dry before I do the resin casting. It doesn't look like that affected the holes too much. I've got a whole dish full of pegs here that I made out of yew. So these are all pieces of yew, so there's some variation in color. That contrasts with this wood. So these seem to fit pretty nicely still in the holes. I might drill them out again. I kind of want to wait for this to cool though, because you know it's going to change shape again a little bit as it cools. That's the idea. You can see some of these cracks got more severe with the heating, which is not surprising. So yeah, this is going to definitely require a complete resin casting to just fill all of these cracks that are all over the place. So another issue that I see is if I leave it like this, when I put my mold on here, there's going to be a ton of unnecessary resin. I'm making this up as I go, as you can tell. So yeah, I mean, I want to fill in this depression with resin, but I don't want to have to fill all of this out here with resin. So I guess the trick then is to cut the pegs off that I can. Like this one, for example. Doesn't need to be anywhere but right on top, so I'll probably just cut that one off flush. I'll cut this one off flush. This one. And then here I'm just going to have to imagine what flush is, and the same thing on this one. I'll cut some of these off flush. And then in here I'll have to just kind of guess. All right, got degassed A and B. That's nowhere near enough color. All right, gonna go with the alcohol ink. I have a bad feeling about this. I've got a very interesting strawberry color. Not really what I was going for, but it's where we're at. 100% not reproducible. Looks like strawberry lemonade. My wrapping's so tight I can't get the resin down in there. I'm not optimistic on multiple fronts with this one. All right, we're back. Got this walnut bowl that I've been working on the resin casting for. The first casting didn't cover everything. It got this lower pocket here, but it didn't get the upper pocket entirely. So I did hot glue a few plastic bags on here and filled those pockets with resin. That's what those are. This lower pour was Alumilite clear slow, put in the pressure pot. These upper ones, anything with a plastic bag on it here, was done with Alumilite clear cast and just left for probably 36 hours to cure, not in the pressure pot. I think it did okay. We'll see once I turn it how well it got into the gaps. But I'm gonna remount it by the hole and take it to the lathe and off we go. So let's get turning. We'll clean this up and see how it looks. So we're going to add a mortise on the bottom. Minimally, it needs to be bigger than this. This is what I use for a tenon. So a tenon would be about that big. So I probably need to come, I don't know, maybe out to here. Time to flip it around and mount it by the mortise. Hope I didn't make it too big. And hollow. Alright, well now we're going to start surfacing the top and working our way in. I'm going to leave the tailstock here just for support until I have to take it out.